Middle Tennessee is known for a rich cultural heritage, particularly in the music and the arts. One of the key cities in the area is Murfreesboro, which has earned its nickname Bucket City. Murfreesboro is home of Middle Tennessee State University, which plays a pivotal role in fostering artistic talent and promoting music education. Bucket City Mouthwash is a podcast that focuses on the artistic community in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and the broader Middle Tennessee region. The podcast serves as a platform to highlight the stories and projects of local artists, providing them with an opportunity to share their experiences, insights, and creative endeavors.
Hey, Spike.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, I usually like to start talking about what got you into music, and when you started playing music, like before we talked.
God, that's a big question. I mean, music's been like a part of my life for as long as I can remember. My parents, could tell that I liked to sing whenever I was like, a toddler. So they put me in like singing lessons because they wanted me to be in like the church choir because I had like very religious upbringing, up to a point anyway. And then, started playing piano when I was 7 years old and did that up until I, started high school and, decided that like, and I also played trombone in band in middle school. But yeah, once I hit high school, I kind of hit that period where I decided that like skateboarding and drugs were cooler than playing music. But but I was always involved, not involved, but I was always like friends with people who were involved in music. I used to play with Shin and like Luke Chickley and Gabe Thomason, Hunter Bates. Those are guys that I like I sat at like the lunch table with Hunter in middle school. Like I've known all of them since we were like 12 years old, but they were always doing music and I kind of like fell out of it for a while. But come like college, I'm like working at Kroger, and I'm very into like surf rock, surf punk, like grunge, post-punk stuff, but it's not like really doing it for me, I guess. Or I had like beef with like one of the vocalists of one of the bands that I liked on Twitter, and they just kind of like and made me hate that band, and I was just like, okay. But anyway, getting off topic, Danny Boy from Tank Rats was the cheesemonger at the Kroger store that I worked at in Thompson Station, and he, like, we talked, smoking cigarettes outside about music, for a while, and then they put out the Tank Rats Get Tanked album, like their one album, and like I bought the CD off him, Patch, that was my first, local punk CD and stuff, and just I guess it's all kind of history from there, like, I can keep going up until like the Oitakus, just kind of Danny Boy and his older brother Will, started inviting me out to shows, and I remember a very significant point in me getting involved in the punk scene in Nashville was Whack Bash 2018, because my 21st birthday fell on the day of that show, and I had been like sneaking into shows at Cobra for a while, but they had like just started checking IDs like that event, I feel like, so it worked out that way. And everybody there was like buying me drinks and, wished me happy birthday. Whack made sure that, that everybody wished me a happy birthday along with him. And that was also where I found out about Muddy Roots, because it was coming up, the following month. And everybody just insisted that I had to go. And, that, Muddy Roots was definitely where I found my like, and I also met people in like from Murfreesboro at that show, like Jack Brunson specifically. I met, like at one of the tables behind Cobra at Whack Bash 2018, and he was one of the people that encouraged me to go to Muddy. But yeah, I went to Muddy, was very ill prepared, but definitely like found my family there with like the MCP crew, folks from El Escapado and Tank Rats and all those, and the Petersons from Memphis, the Peterson compound and all that. But yeah, I can ramble on and on, so you can cut me off if
no.
But yeah, So Muddy Roots, definitely like changed my whole perspective on like community and like acceptance, or it changed me in the sense that like I figured out like what that actually felt like. So, that, and I had been like getting back into playing music a little bit, up until then, but then I really started, wanting to get involved like even more at that point, just because of how at home I felt at Muddy, with the MCP folks and also with the folks I'd met from Murfreesboro. So, remembering. Oh yeah, I remember. I think I had known about Ethan Rose just through the grapevine, through knowing like Hunter and other people who played music, but I don't think I ever really like got acquainted with Ethan until it was 2019. MDC played at the Cobra, and I just kind of approached Ethan and was like, I know that you're a person who like books shows, and like I want to know about more shows. I want to go. So he was just like, oh yeah, just add me on Facebook. I'll invite you to everything. And so that's how I came to start going to shows at CXR. And I like rode the couch there numerous times, just would stay there for a couple of days after a show or whatever, hanging out with like Scout or whoever. And, and that was like where I met some people like Desiree O'Donnell and CD Tolbear, and just folks that were like the first actual like band that I was really a part of. Like in my adulthood, we did some weird. I was on my little synth organ playing like chip tunes and carnival music, and we were like trying to turn it into punk rock. That never really went anywhere, but we tried with it for like a year. But then Shin Kira, asked me to be their vocalist, so I just ran with that, because I think that was like 2019, when COVID things were starting to happen. But they were, unrelated to that, they were looking for a vocalist because they were trying to adopt like a heavier sound, and they had been like delegating vocals between the three of them up until that point, and they just wanted to focus on their like instruments and let the vocalist kind of get in people's face and bring the energy. So I was super down to like play music with those guys, and and also with it being like a kaiju themed, like hardcore, like D-beat band by that point, like it was right up my alley because I love Godzilla and kaiju films. And it was fun to bring my like element to like the lyricism and the lore and all that, which we didn't really get to expand upon that. And, but I think there's a band I can't remember the name of in like Murfreesboro or somewhere now that's like operating with a very similar concept. And and that's not to say that it was like a stolen idea or anything. I just think it's funny how those things happen. You'll have an idea and you'll not really run with it, and then somebody who will just kind of like have the same idea, or will like maybe they heard you talk about it, and then a little while later they'll be like, I had an idea, and forget that they heard it somewhere else. It's just funny how those like word of mouth things lead to things happening. But yeah, rambling on. But yeah, Oitakus was originally like me and Hayden. Like Hayden came to me with just like a stupid idea, and it was going to be just like our COVID project, essentially, just like something to keep us busy, to like have fun. But that it certainly went a lot further than any of us expected it to. But I guess that's it was long, but it was a paraphrase of of my involvement with music up until this point in my life.
Yeah. So where did you guys the name Oitakus? Where does that come from?
So, the name is such a funny element to the band, because like what it is what an otaku is at all.
I know you've told me.
Oh, I have told you, but I'll reiterate. It's an otaku is like why is my brain blanking? It's basically just a person who's like obsessed with anime, and like they there's this phenomenon. I don't know if this is like current and like the correct term for it, but when I was growing up, there was this phenomenon in Japan called Ikigamori syndrome, which was kind of where otaku culture stemmed from, in a sense of just like a person who locks himself in their room, no sun, no whatever, they just, or homebound, they just watch anime and like hentai all day. They have no social interaction, and that's not, otaku's definitely like evolved from that meaning. It's, more broad and just kind of a word that people will use to describe their fandom for anime and just like Japanese culture and stuff. Similar to what, like the term a weeaboo is, also one that we incorporate into our lyrics and stuff. But like, so that's the meaning of otaku. But then the oi, is signaling in like, without, it's signaling very blatantly that it's like street punk, like pogo, like traditional skinhead oi kind of influences, like that classic UK 77, UK 82 kind of punk sound, harkening back to it's hard to like name bands that were like influential in that genre in the early days that I don't feel like critical of now, but like The Exploited was one that I was like really into when I was first getting into it. I won't get into a whole lot about The Exploited. It's, not really my place to make judgments on people, but then the Sex Pistols, it's so hard. But then like really what we take our influence from is like, in a sense, like Japanese pogo, like the Erections and stuff, but also, like American street punk bands, like A Global Threat and, why can't I remember any? I know like a million bands and I can't fucking remember any of them right now, but that's, American street punk, UK street punk influences, but also, we've got like the song, The Ballad of Skinhead Steve, that's more, got kind of like a reggae kind of influence to it with the upstrokes and the beat, because it's paying homage to our friend, it's The Ballad of Skinhead Steve. So it's, obviously paying homage to him, or not homage, but he's still alive, but it's just paying, my goal with that song was to, be one of those punk songs like Sheena is a punk rocker or whatever, just like I know who the person is, but somebody listening to it might think of them more as like a concept kind of thing. But I'm rambling on. But yeah, so oi, that's just to say that like oi and like the unity inherent to like traditional skinhead culture and like sharp culture, skinheads against racial prejudice, I find myself everywhere that I go, ranting at people about the origins of skinhead culture and how it was very much like an anti-racist thing and in solidarity with people of color rather than the like Nazi associations that it carries now.
Yeah, those bands I was thinking of, Charge GBH. And
stuff. Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like bad when GBH comes up because I have like listened to them like extensively, but they're not, I wouldn't consider them to be like one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. So I don't, have like a high amount of like knowledge about their music like I would some other bands that I like listen to more intentionally. Mm-hmm. But I am going to like see them when they come to Nashville. Like I can't remember when they're coming to Nashville, but I did see a flyer for that.
Ooh, I did not.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys have a song called King of the Hill is the greatest anime.
Yeah, specifically King of the Hill is best anime is the name of the track.
Yeah, and last night I turned on the new season of King of the Hill. Have you heard about that or watched that?
I have heard about it. I haven't watched any of it yet because King of the Hill is like a comfort show for me and my wife. So I'm house sitting for a friend of mine right now. So I'm waiting for the opportunity for us to watch it together. Mm-hmm. But I love King of the Hill. I'm originally from East Texas, which isn't quite where King of the Hill is based, but like my father is very much like a Hank Hill character. So that series is, very personal to me, and, I love that show, but I have not seen the new season. My lifelong best friend did rant at me about it last night and basically spoil everything, but, I don't care about spoilers anyway. I'll just experience it for myself. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Well, one small one, he talks about keeping a battery on a trickle charger and as a parts salesman at O'Reilly's. I was happy to hear that someone kept their battery on a trickle charger while they weren't driving their car for an extensive period of time. So I was like, oh, I have gotten older.
Gotta bring some awareness for that.
Yeah. So let's go back to Malort. Or not Malort. But, Muddy Roots. Have you had experience with Malort?
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember. I think it was my third year at Muddy Roots. Danny Boy like caught me like rolling down Vendor Row like in a daze, and he was just like, "Spike, has anybody made you like? Have you had your like Malort cherry popped yet?" And he like has a little shot bottle in his hand, and I was just like, I've been avoiding it up until this point. And but I was at that point in the festival where I was within reason gonna take whatever was handed to me, especially alcohol wise. So I was just like, all right, I knocked it back, and I'd certainly learned what people say about it being like fermented garbage juice and like gasoline and shit. It's not great. It's just certainly made me feel like I wanted to puke in that moment.
Before I quit drinking, I drank a lot of Malort.
Really?
Yeah. I think that might be a sign.
I mean, I got my things that people think are weird. Like I love absinthe, and I love like Jägermeister, and because I love like black licorice, and those have like a similar kind of flavor profile, and I love gin, I love anything that's like herbal or botanical or whatever, something where it's like, I feel like the floral notes in my nostrils kind of shit. Love that. But Malort was like, it was like an assault of that. I did not enjoy it. Yeah. And it's also bizarre to me that Malort has become like a Muddy Roots staple when it's like a Chicago thing. And like, I mean, I know there's people like from Chicago that come to Muddy Roots, but I don't know if there's like a particular like presence of Muddy Roots in Chicago. So like, I know there's a presence in like Argentina and like in like England and shit, but maybe like Rotterdam and the Netherlands. I don't know.
Yeah, that web is crazy.
It is. Well, and it's always funny whenever I talk to people about Muddy Roots, because I'm on the street team this year, so it's kind of been my job to be like, as they put it, preaching the Muddy Roots gospel. And it really does feel that way when you're talking to people about it. Because like anytime I meet somebody who I think is like, cut from the same cloth, somebody that, especially if there's somebody who I feel like struggles with things that I struggled with, like in like lack of community, lack of acceptance, kind of shit, I'll be like, okay, come to Muddy Roots and like roll with me at Muddy, and you'll like feel like what community and acceptance is really like. You'll you'll probably end up having the same existential crisis that I do there every year of, man, like this is really like how people are supposed to live, like maybe not as like down and dirty as we are there, but just we're pack animals. We're supposed to be like leaning on each other and playing to our strengths. We're not supposed to be like slaving away. And I don't know, it's me getting a little philosophical, but I love Muddy Roots. I can't remember where my destination was with that, but yeah.
Who knows with Malort?
Yeah, that's where we started with Malort. Yeah, we got the Chicago Pope now, and I've got a fucking image saved on my phone that was my background for a bit of Chicago Pope holding a bottle of Malort.
Yeah. Are you guys playing this year?
No. I mean, but last year, Hayden runs the Little Tent stage, and last year when like the last band finished playing, most of us were there, and like Ethan Rose knows drums for most of our songs, so we just like played one that all of us knew like real quick at the end, and that was fun. And I mean, it'll probably be a situation, where I don't know. I don't think if all of us or most of us are going to be there this year. But I know that like me and Hayden and Keenan will all be there, but I don't know about the rest of us.
Yeah. Hey, you at?
Hello.
Jar Jar Binks.
But yeah, I mean, there's always like surprise sets and stuff, and I mean, I'm gonna like hop on stage for the bands that I like either way. So I'll have my little moments.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. was it Tank Rats or I think either Tank Rats or what Wrecked, like right there at the end, right before Bonginator played
last year.
Yeah, they were able to tack on, like kind of like how you're saying.
It was.
They weren't like on the lineup, but they were able to.
Yeah, Wrecked was the last one at the little tent, and we convinced the guys to let us sneak a song in at the end, essentially. Mm-hmm. But because I've got the Wrecked tattoo, I've known those guys for a long ass time. I love those boys.
Yeah, they're good boys. Yeah. You were talking about Danny Boy being a cheesemonger earlier, and now I kind of want to get HAMBONE because he does my illustrations. I kind of want to draw like an Iron Man villain. Well, there's an ironmonger, like a cheesemonger.
Hell yeah! I mean, I remember for the longest time when I was working with him, I don't know if he still has it, but I always associated him knew him as that punk rock guy with the cheese bandana, because he always would wear this bandana to work. That was red bandana with a bunch of different just wedges of cheese all over it. But I don't know if he still has it, but it's funny. To me, I look at Danny Boy and I'm like, that's the cheese guy. But then when I tell other people about it, they're just like, I didn't know Danny was the cheese guy.
I mean, the cheese guy is an important.
That man goes to cheese conventions. He's told me about it. That man loves cheese. I love cheese too. I love cheese. I love salamis, which is basically just meat cheese. It's the history of fermentation of foods and fucking the way poor people would store shit to make it last. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, beer and cheese.
Beer and cheese.
Yeah.
And chicken, perfect combination. Mm-hmm. Potatoes. I'm Irish.
Yeah.
I'm also Italian though. I eat a lot of pizza, pasta.
Nice. So do you have any upcoming projects?
Upcoming projects. I mean, I'm one of those people who's always having ideas for projects with my friends. I think most musicians kind of have that when they're friends with other musicians. Will have an idea for something and we'll write part of one song for it and be really excited about it, and then life will just kind of draw away from it and it won't happen, but then we'll talk about it and then maybe we'll come back to it a little bit. But I don't know if you've caught any of... sorry, I just got my fucking septum pierced, and it's itchy. I don't know if you've caught any Sex Tape Massacre shows with Hunter and B and Logan and... why can't I remember his name? He plays with Spinning Lodge. But anyway... I was originally going to be the vocalist for that, and I, kind of helped them come up with the name and the concept, because I'm a big Texas Chainsaw fan. I love Texas Chainsaw 2, and help just kind of come up with that name. But I wasn't able to commit to it. Hunter lives out in Franklin, I live in Cookville, so it's hard. And I was just going through it mentally and just wasn't able to commit myself to making that drive every Wednesday with my job and everything else. So, but it's, they gave me an open door to come back to it at any time, but I just don't want to do the same shit again. But it's been really cool to see them going up and playing in Kentucky and locally and everything. I really I want to have a band like that again. And I've been trying to poke at, some of the guys local in Cookville that I know, Parker Randolph from Bare Your Teeth, tucked one of his little 931 hardcore zines behind one of the Muddy Roots posters that I put up at Roasted Hemp Co. in Cookville. And so I hit him up and I was like, was this you? Because it didn't say his last name, it just said Parker. And I'm like, who the fuck else would it be in Cookville? So, gonna try, and he's a drummer, so, especially with heavy music, the hardest part I feel is finding a drummer. So I'm like, drummer, please play music with me, be my heavy drummer. So we can work out bass and fucking guitar later. We can write hardcore songs with just my vocals and the drums, but make it work. But no, nothing really in the works right now. Me and Keenan, bassist from the Oitakus, always talk about fucking doing like a funk project at some point. You know, we're always talking about, you know, blues and funk and soul and how much we love that. And whenever we're on the road, you know, and it's just me and him like awake, like in the front seat while everybody else is asleep, you know, I'll put on my weird like 70s like Japanese punk or funk playlist, and we'll just go down a little rabbit hole. And I want to, you know, I'd love to do that someday. I love, you know, funk and just like the energy and the history of it and stuff, but you know, it's very involved, so I just haven't gotten to that, but I'd like to. But yeah, no actual projects.
Do you like city pop stuff?
Oh yeah, I mean, I love like Masayoshi Takanaka, and like, I mean, I was listening to Speed of Love on the way over here. That's like one of the greatest driving songs of all time, like if you ask me. I'm not super like versed in city pop, but like, I mean, Takanaka's like if you know somebody doesn't know about him, you know, and they're a guitarist, I'm just like, what? Because dude is just like such a treasure with his guitar playing and stuff. But I'm really into a older Japanese funk, kind of like punk funk in some capacity. I don't know, they've taken on a lot of forms over the years, but Jagatara is a really good example of like Japanese funk, and it's like very high energy, like 30-minute just like jamming funk tracks with, you know, long instrumentals and solos, and just so many instrumentalists playing so many different crazy things, just tearing it up. And I remember seeing one of their live videos. There was this like punk rocker dude in a leather jacket, like gets up on stage with them and starts fighting over the microphone with the vocalist. And he ends up like dragging him backstage, you know, because they start like fighting. But then after like some jamming, they both come back out and they've given the punk rocker guy his own microphone so he can just like scream during the fucking songs. Like that was when I saw that Jagatara like set, I was like, okay, like this, I can get down with this for sure. Like not just the music, but just like the show of it all.
All right. So I'd like to transition maybe to can you share some of your experience with Bro Fondo?
Bro Fondo, yeah, I mean, I've played Bro Fondo twice now, if I recall. I've been to Bro Fondo 3 or 4 times now. I mean, it's always been a great experience. You know, just the first year that I played, we were at CXR, and then after that, it was at Wax Shack in Wax Backyard when we played. I'm blanking on the years, but I've always loved Fondo. It's, you know, great. I love it especially because it always exposes me to like music that I wouldn't otherwise really be exposed to, because it's not, you know, punk or hardcore or metal or whatever, because I don't, you know, not I shouldn't say not for lack of trying, because it is for lack of trying. I haven't sought, you know, live music as much outside of just like my genre leanings, but I, you know, and that's part of the reason why, you know, I love Muddy Roots as well, you know, it's because I'm always exposed to something that I like but I never would have thought of. And, you know, Fondo's good for that. You know, they've got like some hip-hop artists that I've seen that were very good. You know, hip-hop's got, you know, like a big role in my, you know, music taste, and, you know, so but yeah, it's just I love the focus on, you know, like biking. I know like most people, including myself, will like drive around for Fondo, but I like the whole, you know, guiding people through town on bikes, you know, to make it more, you know, environmentally conscious, and just like, I don't know, it makes more of a statement, you know, when you see a bunch of weirdos like riding down the street on their bikes or whatever. It's a cool thing, you know, and it's a community thing too. You know, you get to meet these people that like operate these different businesses that are associated with it, and just kind of help out. And yeah.
You said something about hip hop. Have you ever rapped?
No.
Yeah.
Grady asked me that. And I was like, actually, I have.
Really? I mean, I've I've been told by some people that the way that I've written the lyrics for some of my songs is kind of akin to like hip hop like lyricism, just with like the like analogous, just like I just like speak in metaphors a lot, and use a lot analogy a lot in my writing. So, and that's really common in just like the poetry inherent to like hip hop, like rap music specifically. Just but I remember one time somebody, like, we have our song Manga Man that's like word vomit is what I would call it. That was the song that made me be like, okay, I need a second vocalist for this band. But like, so I did it on my own one time, and somebody came up to me and they were like, that was like some Tech Nine like kind of lyrics or something, and I was like, no, not even a little bit, but I appreciate the compliment. I mean, I don't know if that's a compliment. It's a compliment in the sense that Tech Nine raps really fast, but I do not sing that fast.
Yeah.
Or like Busta Rhymes or whatever. Yeah. Busta Rhymes back in the day, and I guess he's doing the fast stuff again. I don't know.
He did. He is the only person to beat up Michael Myers, though, and survive.
What was that Halloween Resurrection with that? That was the funny one.
Yeah, he did. So, a lot of our Murfreesboro folks and Tennessee folks are involved in a lot of these other festivals, as we've not just Muddy Roots. Can you talk about some of your experiences with some of those? Like maybe at like Atlanta 40 Fest or We Are the Punks or...
Oh yeah, I mean, so we haven't played We're the Punks yet. I know that We're the Punks is coming back next year. And I'm really excited for that, because like Hayden, that was kind of how I got into really into like street punk and just like oi and pogo and stuff, was Hayden bringing me out to We're the Punks 2, We're the Punks 3 in Florida. Who's calling me right now? I don't know who you are. But yeah, those festivals were a really good experience. Super chaotic at times, but in a way that was like fun for me. The stories that I tell, that for some people they're just like, oh, that sounds like really scary, and I'm just like, well, I guess for somebody like less self-destructive, it would probably be scary. But no, I love We're the Punks. I hope we get to play at some point, because playing Muddy Roots was one of my goals as a musician, and I got to achieve that goal. So I'd like to play We're the Punks at some point. Playing 40 Fest was really cool. My experience with 40 Fest the year that we played was pretty short lived, because on what was it, I can't remember if it was the end of day 1 or day 2. It was right as day 2 was starting. A tree fell on my wife's car back home, so we had to like leave. Luckily, I got to play before that shit happened, but we had to like leave and fucking drive back and deal with that shit, because that was stressful. But the festival itself was cool. The venue was interesting. It was like a warehouse that had been converted into like a wedding venue kind of thing. But it was cool. I had an experience there, like where trying to get like wristbands for the band. That was kind of funny, where I'd basically, the way I ended up getting the wristbands for the band was finding like a bunch of them that got dropped on the ground. And I was like, okay guys, we've got our wristbands now, because I can't keep track of Bill, because like a lot of people, like a lot of people struggle to like delegate when it comes to music events and stuff, because they want everything to go right, so they want to have their hands in everything. But that's why you want to get people that you trust to delegate those tasks to. But anyway, 40 Fest is awesome though. I mean, I loved all the bands. It blew my mind to hear like somebody say that one of the members of Unwanted Noise from Canada, which is like a big band in that space, a band that I really enjoy, a band that I was part of the reason why I went to We Are the Punks 3 was to see them. And then come to find out that like their flight got delayed, and one of the members of Unwanted Noise was really bummed because he specifically wanted to see the Oitakus. And I was, it just, that kind of thing always blows my mind when I wouldn't say like I idolize a band, but I look at a band and I'm like, they're doing the thing like in a way that's really cool and like makes me feel kind of insecure at times. So then I hear that they think that what I'm doing is really cool. I blush a little bit. I'm just like, oh, how do I take this? It's such a compliment, But trying to think of other. I mean, we got to play the like Nashville Punk Rock Flea Market back in 2019. My brain is just shitting out the years. I can't remember, but it was, and we got to be on the like Punk Rock Flea Market compilation volume 1 like that year, like, and that was my first time having any of my music on like a vinyl record, so that was super cool. And we got to like open the flea market that year. We were the first band, so that was pretty neat. I made the mistake of not eating beforehand and just drinking, so I could have given a better performance that year, but I hadn't been to the punk rock flea market for a few years, and I just went again this year, and I didn't play, but like I caught a bunch of my friends' bands play, and I was like super sleep deprived, and I like beat the hell out of myself like in the pit and like jumping over the barrier to get on stage and stuff. But it was really crazy to see just how much it had grown over the years, because like that first year with the flea market, it was just in that little like room in the back with the stage, or not a little room, but that room in the back, it's kind of like exit in sized, showroom. But then now it's like I walk in, and I kept catching myself, because I'm an anime nerd, I kept catching myself saying like, have a good con to people at the punk rock flea market, because the scale of it was very much like that of the anime conventions that like the Oitakus that we play at, MTAC and a KaiCon and that sort of thing, with all the booths just wall to wall, like everywhere that they could fit. Vendors, there was a vendor. It was crazy, and just like the amount of people that were there that I had just never seen before, and it was nuts, just the scale of it in comparison to when I played. And it's awesome. Like Mac is like seeing Mac grow with like that event, and just take it from such like a small little like side thing to this whole like phenomenon that is talked about like nationwide, really. Just it's crazy.
So maybe a little bit about anime conventions. So obviously you guys probably fit into that really well. How's that experience?
It's pretty good. I mean, that was really like, obviously we wanted to play like the DIY shows whenever we started the Oitakus, and just like whatever shows we could get, but it was definitely one of our goals to play at MTAC and a KaiCon. And we knew like DZ Powers and some of the other folks that work for that run a KaiCon. And just like, through the connections that like Hayden especially has, because Hayden is just has so many connections with so many people, and Hayden's just such a good guy. We'd get so many opportunities. We were able to achieve that goal of playing the conventions pretty swiftly. And we played MTAC like 3 years in a row. We didn't play this past year, but we did. I was sick for it, but we did have a panel on like how you want to start a band was our panel at MTAC this year. And then we did the same panel at a KaiCon, played there. And this was our 4th year playing a KaiCon. And I was at my birthday party last week. I was talking to DZ just about like a KaiCon and how they've been kind of like, the response from people hasn't been what they hoped for when bringing bands in, aside from the Oitakus, which was kind of funny. Like, people don't, I'll always watch the other bands that, play music at a KaiCon, but it really only seems like people come out to see the Oitakus, and we're like the house band for a KaiCon now, which is a super funny thing. And MTAC is a little different. MTAC is like a bigger convention. There's a lot of moving parts there, and I don't know. Anytime that you're dealing with like a big event that has like corporate sponsors and stuff, certain parts of that process are just like pulling teeth, just trying to, keep the communication up. And it's funny that I say that, because like I'm not great about communication at times, and Hayden handles a lot of the like interpersonal, like scheduling kind of things. And, I'll contribute where I can, but I am so fucking like ADHD that I lose track of shit. My object permanence just sets it to the wayside. But no, MTech's great. It's really cool to be part of that experience, because I've been going to MTech, since I was 15, or 16 years old. The first one that I went to is infamously called LineCon, because it was at this dinky little Embassy Suites, and the turnout was way bigger than they expected, and they tried to like downsize from the convention center that it had been at. It was just a nightmare. Like, if you wanted to do anything, you were in a line for hours. And I remember there's so many people there, such close quarters, I ended up getting sick and like shitting myself in the bathroom at MTech that year. But I still went back, because they improved after that, and they've kept improving.
Is MTech still at Embassy Suites in Nashville?
Oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the hotel. It's crap. There's two hotels that they like split it between, like right outside of Nashville, and they've got like shuttles running between them, and they've been doing that since I was like 17, which would have been like 2015 roundabouts. So, and I think they've got their, venue situation figured out at this point. The first year they did the two hotel thing, they did not have enough shuttles running, and I wore like a new pair of dress shoes that I hadn't broken in that day, and we walked like multiple miles like back and forth between the hotels, and that was miserable. But they've it's a better experience now, and it's like a lot of great vendors, a lot of great panels, a lot of really cool people that we get to meet at cons, because the Oitakus tend to be kind of subversive, both on like the punk rock side and the anime side. Like, people, look at us and like we fit, but we fit in like putting a star-shaped like piece in a circular hole, though. It's like we do our own version of it, and the people who resonate with it enjoy it, but the people who don't, I don't know, some of them are kind of we've had some sticks in the mud that have called us punk posers, or people who have, like when we do our song Say No to Boku no Pico, calling out, just pedophilia in anime and stuff, and watching people at MTech like walk out of the room whenever we're chanting like fuck lolicons. Like, that's, it's funny, being involved in these two communities simultaneously, but like kind of pissing certain people off on both sides because of the way that we navigate it. I mean, that's great. That's punk rock. That's the reason. You can listen to our songs and think that they're just goofy, clever little like themed songs, but I do think very deeply about my lyrics. I try to, send a message, like multiple messages. I try to layer my shit, like our new song Oi Shield 77 is not just about not liking sports, but liking sports anime. It's also about like the pressures of masculinity, and like the just inherent to that with the way that, me being a big guy, I played lacrosse when I was younger because I thought the sport was really cool, like both historically and just like mechanically. But it's like, the masculinity side of it, just kind of being pressured into sports and to like it when I just really didn't give a shit. And then, I make statements in that song about like school funding, just how education kind of went to the wayside in public schools in favor of supporting the sports programs and stuff. So that's all to say that, I try to be goofy and themed and be the gimmick band, but I also try to, be intentional with my lyrics and, send the right message.
Yeah.
So
I've only gotten to go to one MTAT, and I saw Power Glove.
Okay.
It was like a VG metal.
I've heard Hayden talk about Power Glove.
They dress up think like War, but with Koopa shells as like armor.
Okay.
Yeah, and then somebody ran into the mosh pit like dressed up as Tony the Tiger, and they were like, "Everyone beat the shit
think you would, what would you call that, like Nintendo Core or something like
Yeah.
that? That's a term that I became privy to some years ago.
I guess that is exactly
or just like Nerdcore, obviously.
Nerdcore, yeah. They like.
Yeah, I heard Nintendo Core for the first time whenever I learned about Horse the Band. I'm sure you've familiar with Horse the Band.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you guys done any like cosplay during your sets?
Ray likes to cosplay a lot. He usually ends up switching into his just like punk getup whenever we actually perform. This past AkaiCon, I did like what you would call like a closet cosplay of a very niche character from Street Fighter named Abigail, who's like he's like a big buff like motorcycle gang guy who wears like a tank top and has like, you know, spiky collar and a bunch of chains and like luchador like paint on his face kind of shit. So I just kind of did the paint on my face and wore my normal clothes because that basically communicated the same shit that the character does. And you know, I love cosplaying. I've just, you know, I did more of it when I was younger. Like I've cosplayed as No Face from Spirited Away, and I did this is a weird, I've been a lot of niche characters. Like I did Henry Townsend from Silent Hill 4, The Room, like, which is, you know, if you don't know that character, that it just wouldn't, you know, I would just look like a guy holding a pickaxe, really.
Yeah.
But
it's been a while since I played that. That's the one that's got like the bunny rabbit and you're looking through the hole.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the like first person like hauntings in the apartment in that game. It was a really interesting, it was a good like experimental thing for the series. But that game had its quirks, as most games on the PS2 did. But I mean, PS2 horror and just like PS2 games in general are a big, you know, reason why I am the person I am today. You know, Silent Hill, Resident Evil, but also like you know, I heard The Casualties for the first time in Tony Hawk's Underground 2 when I was a kid, you know, or like I heard Aesop Rock in that game for the first time. And, you know, I heard in, you know, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, I heard, you know, like Goldfinger for the first time, and like just so many just like punk rock bands and hip hop artists and stuff that went on to, you know, some of them I may not really listen to anymore. Like I don't really fuck with The Casualties anymore, but you know, other bands that I still listen to Aesop Rock all the time. I love so many of those artists to this day. And it's, you know, funny how, you know, me being like a video game nerd, you know, and playing Tony Hawk and GTA and stuff was because GTA had like the Punk Station Channel X and GTA 5 with Keith Morris as the host, you know, and they had like MDC on there, The Descendants, and all kinds of shit. So, you know, it's been cool with the Oitakus to be able to marry, you know, that with punk rock, you know, because I've had people over the years approach me and like look at my like vest or whatever and say, you know, like that they think it's cool that I don't just do like the band patches, but I do like the anime patches. You know, I've got my like Berserk and like my Junji Ito shit and like my Starman logo from Earthbound and stuff. So like I don't just, you know, I always, even before I got into punk rock, I always, you know, I wear my interests because they're so, you know, heavily tied in with my personality. You know, fandom is just a big thing for me, but I don't engage in fandom in the way that like a lot of people in online spaces do. So I kind of like on my Facebook, I have myself referred to not as like a fan, but an enjoyer, because it's like I might have encyclopedic knowledge about some of these things, but once you start like wanting to argue with me about it, I'm just like, okay, you know, let's not, you know, that's what our new song Problematic Faves is about, is, you know, specifically like the phenomenon of people forming like parasocial relationships with fictional characters, and they'll act like you're not allowed to like a villain because of like the trauma the villain has inflicted upon like the protagonists. And it's through that parasocial relationship, it's like the trauma's been inflicted on them. And I'm just like, no, like a good villain is like a tragic figure, and a good villain is compelling. You know, if you know, and I think that, you know, that's relevant in like a punk rock sense too, because punk rock is inherently like antagonistic, and, you know, just putting a middle finger to, you know, the structures and systems that we're, you know, born into. And so, you know, I've always loved a compelling villain, because, you know, you know, the best villains are somebody that you can relate to, somebody that's like morally gray in a sense, where like you can't make excuses for the things that they do, but you can understand the way that they are based on their tragic story, the trauma that they've experienced. You know, because a lot of us, you know, like I can relate to that in my life. I've been a toxic person. I've traumatized people in the past, you know, with my, you know, just emotional unintelligence and just like the way that I was brought up. So, you know, it's, you know, I want people to view those things from like a more critical standpoint instead of being so like reactive. And yeah, so that's a bit of a tangent again, but it's about the music, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's about it. You know,
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm a yapper for sure when my brain allows it.
Yeah. So usually towards the end, do you have anything works that you'd like to plug in? Do you have anything that
like things that I've got going on?
Yeah.
Well, the Oitakus, we just put out our split EP with the Spiky Tops from up in New Jersey. You know, members of the Spiky Tops include people from like Blank 77 and the Unsubs and Angry Youth and shit, some real like old heads in like street punk and pogo and stuff. So like, you know, getting to be on on a split with those guys and them thinking like we are the thing, you know, to go with was really cool. So yeah, we've got the new split. It's called Operation Pogo. It's got, you know, one of the first experience I've had is like the first track on there has all of the members from all of the bands doing vocals, like a feature. It's not something you see very often with punk rock, like features. That's more of like a hip hop thing, I feel like. But yeah, so we've got that going on. We're gonna be playing at Cobra on August, I want to say 11th, but I'm gonna double check. Yeah, we're gonna be playing at Cobra on August 11th, which is like in a week or something, with Dayglow Abortions, the Gremlins, and the Brothels. That's an 18 and up show at 7. That's gonna be a cool show. The Dayglow Abortions, that's, you know,
one of those called the Gremlins.
Yeah, Gremlins. Yeah, I'm not familiar with them. They hopped on like later, but I'm always excited to see a new band. I mean, and I'm on the street team for Muddy Roots, so you know, I've already put up all my posters. I've made my like long-winded posts on social media about why you should go, but you know, Muddy Roots is the best DIY festival that I am aware of. It's my favorite place on earth. It's my yearly cleanse. So like, everybody should come to Muddy Roots.
Yeah.
Everybody that's not an asshole anyway. And I mean, if you are an asshole at Muddy Roots, you'll probably get kicked out. So.
Yeah, if you're an asshole, there's more of us. So we'll have fun kicking your ass.
Yeah, I mean, the one rule I'm aware of at Muddy Roots is don't be a dick, and it seems to be pretty well enforced in my experience. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's everything that I want to plug. If you play Street Fighter, I want friends to play Street Fighter with. I'm trying to get involved in like the local fighting game community, but I am so busy. So if you want to play Street Fighter online with me, do that.
All right. Yeah.
But that's not a plug. That's just a personal thing.
Yeah. No. Yeah. We'll leave it with that. With Street Fighter.
That's pretty on brand for me.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Spike.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
This was awesome.
All right.